track. And if you can't do the work, I'll take my foot back. Oh, you promise industry, you lie, and prosperity, you lie, accountability, you lie, you make a fool of me, you lie. This is no joke, take back all your damn promises and give me back my vote. 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 We trade a promise for a vote. You couldn't keep it. You wrecked my hope, so now I have to rock your boat. Give me back my vote. Give me back my vote. Give me back my vote.
This is where I take the opportunity to say a pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh God,
And how are we doing this afternoon? Today being Tuesday,
he died.
the 28th day
Bye.
of January 2026. Wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing, do have yourself a blessed one.
So fed up of this system, politicians and all their lies, always making your own hand chook finger in your eyes. And then when they get into power, they acting just like a dictator, doing worse than the governments before. And when they're in opposition, they know all government corruption. But in their own party, they never know what's going on. Whoa, and if you talk, you'll be surprised to see how you're.
So if you're visiting us for the first time,
We have
this is the Class in Session program. I am your host, truly, Royalty James, for another wonderful one.
but when
Good day, good day, good day, good day.
they're always looking into.
Some people singing that right now, eh?
Oh, you promise employment and development. Honest government. Now show me the betterment. This is no joke. Take back all your damn promises and give me back my vote. Give me back my vote.
Some people want back their vote bad.
Give me back my vote.
Wish they could take back their vote right now.
Yes, for a vote. You couldn't keep it. You killed my hope, so now I have to rock your boat. Give me back my vote. Give me back my vote. Give me back my vote. Give me back.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we want to take this one down because we are getting ready to start our conversation. Again, a pleasant good afternoon to each and every one of you. For the persons that are joining us for the first time, wherever you are joining us from, we want to say pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome to your very first Class in Session program. All right. Now, to start today's session, we just want to inform the general public that the Andrew Monroe knockout competition continues this weekend at the Alston George Park. Last weekend, we saw the official opening of the football competition. And so this week, we continue, myself, along with the St. Mark's Organization Development and the St. Mark's Football League, we are going to be putting on a spectacle of games in which we exhibit St. Mark's talent and the gift. And so we will be honoring all the persons who had paved the way before. And so we want to be grateful for that. And through that, we have given our dedication to ensure that we have this tournament, or the inauguration of this tournament, that continues on. Yes, we hope that it continues on throughout the years. All right. Now, speaking to a little bit of information, we must inform the general public, and I'm certain there are many of you guys that have heard this information already. Prime Minister Mia Arma Motley would have announced the next Barbados general election to be held on February 11th, 2026. Yes, the dissolution or the dissolving of Parliament would have happened last evening, which was yesterday, the 19th of January. The nomination day will be 1 week from today, which is the 27th of January. And the election date is going to be Wednesday, the 11th of February. To go back, the dissolving of Parliament was yesterday. That's January 19th. January 19th. Yes. Now, in terms of the present status of the election as it relates to the governance of the state of Barbados, the purpose is to elect 30 members of the House of Assembly for a new 5-year term. Yes, the present political climate is that the BLP, led by Prime Minister Motley, currently holds all 30 seats in the House of Assembly after a landslide victory in 2022, a early election that was called in 2021. Yes, that it follows the 2025 president election in which Jeffrey Bostic was elected as the second president of Barbados on October 7th, all right? So, ladies and gentlemen, another Caribbean election has been announced. Another Caribbean election is going to be happening. And so, for those of you guys who are unaware, we have just informed you. So, be aware of that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it brings me to another conversation. Just about a day ago, I would have read an excerpt that speaks to breaking news. Allegedly, the United States government has concluded pressure negotiation with 7 member countries of the Caribbean community: Guyana, Dominica, St. Lucia, Antigua and Bermuda, Belize, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Barbados. This agreement aims to guarantee the reception of asylum seekers deported from the United States and unable to return to their own country of origin. Terence Yu, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, highlighted the challenges of the tense negotiation. Countries refusing to cooperate are exposed to indirect sanctions from the United States, including restrictions on visa and difficulties in internal banking exchanges, corresponding banking, that is, delegate decision between economic pragmatism and political submission. The signatory countries of the agreement have negotiated conditions: obligatory clean criminal records for each refugee, full funding by the United States in terms of transport, accommodation, food aid, and priorities of nationals of CARICOM zone in situations of migration in pass. All right? The signatories, as I have mentioned, they are Guyana, Dominica, St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Barbados. Yes, the Barbadian government does not hide its dissatisfaction. Kerry Sinoms, Minister of Foreign Affairs, described the agreement signed as unwilling, highlighted to pressure the exerted by Washington, which is difficult for small islands' economy to ignore. Antigua and Barbuda impose a cap of 10 asylum seekers per year, fluency in English and mandatory profession training, initial rights of residents limited to 24 months, terminated clause within 90 days. All right. Terence Dew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and current President of CARICOM, announced that his country will not receive Haitian refugees, citing security concerns. This decision highlights tension within CARICOM, where Haitian immigration is sometimes seen as violence invasionists, all right, or invasions. Guyana, in full economic growth, sees the situation as an opportunity. The country is facing a labor shortage, is seeking to attract nearly 80,000 qualified workers. However, the initiative arouses strong criticism from the local opposition, who denounces the reception of people whom other countries do not want. The Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS, has established a technical team to oversee the implementation of this agreement. The United States has set a cap of 7,500 refugees for this relocation program for the year 2026. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we listen to the bigger names that have gotten themselves involved in this conversation, one may ask yourself, what is the stance of Grenada? But as I've been saying, the total disrespect from our present administration as it relates to utter silence, as to hoping that this is going to die off a natural death, and believe that the Grenadian people ought not to even ask a question, is to me bewildering. Yes, now before I jump into my full conversation, I hope that persons who have had the opportunity to have noticed that, well, for the new year, we will be citing to do something different in terms of the class in session program. We are going to have a day of person-to-person interaction, where we go, as we started on Friday, we was on the bus terminus in St. George's. We will be moving to other places. So this year, I know many of you guys always speak as it relates to the inconsistency of the program, and so sometimes it is just little infringement. Like yesterday, I was geared and ready to start. Yes, but apparently my system that is supposed to push the program so that you can see it with the background and all these other things. Yesterday, I know you just saw the plain background, but we must have a system where we can, initiate that sort of background setting for you, that vibe, that music, and the audio again was even off. So I really want to apologize about yesterday, because yesterday I was geared and ready to go. Yes, geared and ready to go, and we had that unforeseen circumstance, right? So I just want to let you guys know that the programming itself will be having little changes. We are going to try to do it every Friday so that we can be able to send out for the weekend or for the week ahead. And so far, I have had a very warm and welcoming reception thus far from the many persons that have seen the video and have always given a thumbs up to the video, and I appreciate you guys so much. I would like to also read a press release from the new National Party as recent as last week. That was just about 5 days ago. That was dated the 14th of January, right? Fish ban, travel advisory, visa certainty, Grenadians are seeking answers from government. The new National Party is expressing deep concern, as Grenada faces a growing series of adverse action from the United States, leaving ordinary Grenadians increasingly anxious and uncertain about their future. Grenada is now confronting a triple hit: the U.S. fishing ban, the U.S. travel warning, and now the pausing of immigrant visa issuance and processing under the tighter immigration and security policies. Together, these developments carry serious economic, social, and reputational implications for the country. Yet, despite the cumulative impact of these actions, there has been no clear explanation, no public plan, and no reassurance offered to Grenadians. The latest development comes on top of the fishing ban and U.S. travel warning, both of which already place significant economic and reputational pressure on Grenada. As this decision continues to stack up, the absence of clear communication and visible advocacy has left Grenadians feeling anxious, frustrated, and unprotected. The handling of foreign affairs is now having real consequences for ordinary Grenadians. There has been no communication outlining what diplomatic effects have been undertaken, nor any clarity on what Grenadians should expect next. Grenadians deserve actions, transparency, and advocacy on issues that materially affects their lives. Clear answers on what continued U.S. restriction means for Grenada, transparency on what diplomatic effects have been made and what results, if any, have been achieved. Visible advocacy and put the interests of Grenadians first. Grenadians are facing growing uncertainties and are waiting for clear answers and strong representation. First, the fishing ban. then the travel warning, now migration visa regulations. The New National Party believes the country cannot afford continued silence when Grenadians' livelihood, opportunity, and confidence are at stake. Now, I am starting with this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, to simply, again, mention to our people how much this administration believe to themselves that Grenadians need not to know. Whatever we get, we have to take it. Whatever comes up, we have to go by it. Whatever they release, we must accept it. And even in recent days, the heightening conversation between the media houses and the government, or the Prime Minister who mentioned that media houses are not coming out for press releases, and not press releases, but press briefings, which the Media Workers Association defended wholeheartedly. And I applaud them on that behalf, because no information is too much information. But however, they've been having press releases based on what they prefer. And so, to sidetrack from all this, and I always say to you guys, pay attention to the manner in which the National Democratic Congress administration continues to put up highlighted and what they believe is bulletins to sidetrack you from the main conversation. With years since taking office of the conversation of this whole legalization, decriminalization of cannabis, with all that is happening within Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martinique, the NDC administration decide to pull wool over our eyes with this cannabis conversation, taking it into Parliament at this stage when we are faced with so many important issues other than the decriminalization and legalization of cannabis. We don't want to hear that right now. The last press briefing was on that conversation. The Parliament sitting today again on that conversation. Grenadians, stop being fooled by these misfits. Stop being fooled by them. We have bigger conversation of international and regional concern. Whether or not cannabis is decriminalized or legalized, it is less important at this stage. There's little or no concern when it comes to that conversation right now. You hear the name of Caribbean countries that have agreed to these refugees, to accept refugees. They are countries that have been developing and more advanced country than ours. So the probability, ladies and gentlemen, leans on a little country like Grenada. There are other countries that are saying, even Barbados are saying they believe that this was high-handed, that it is to be taken or else face the consequences. And in a time when this conversation should be relevant, Grenadians are concerned and are pulling the wool over Grenadians' eye about decriminalization, about cannabis. Come on, Grenadians, wake up. Wake up. This is a trick. International countries are in logheads about important issues. What is important? Whether or not marijuana is legalized or not, or decriminalized, based on the present international and regional conditions that we've been faced with. Fisher folks are at logheads and concerned that it relates to what and how their products that they catch is going to be sold, and your concern is about cannabis? Really? We waited close to 4 years for you to make a decision. We can wait another one. Stop trying to pull the wools of Grenadian eye right now. This is not a word of concern. So when you say persons are not coming to press briefing, it's because what you're talking about, this is not the information we want to hear. And remember last week when I read reasons why persons or media houses would not go off to a press briefing, that was one of the reasons. Irrelevant information. This is not the climate that we're in. This conversation is irrelevant. That's like a hurricane coming and you're talking about some other issue, or we're faced with some other crisis and you're coming up with some other issue. Ladies and gentlemen, the main course on the table right now that is being served is the issues that are happening regionally and internationally as it relates to refugees, as it relates to travel advisory, as it relates to fishing. Those are more concerning. What is the Grenadian populace as it relates to the use of cannabis, as opposed to the amount of persons that will be affected if we have a seasoned criminal that comes into our shores, and because he's a refugee and the United States has given us his slate is wiped clean, but in his mind, is his mind slate clean? This is what we're concerned about. Thousands of refugees, thousands that can be spread to the length and breadth of the Caribbean. More advanced and developing Caribbean nations have signed in saying, okay, we're taking them. And our Prime Minister is concerned about cannabis. That is the concern. That is what Parliament sat today and discussed. That is what the last press briefing in Grenada was about. When other countries are seeking to have conversation and diplomatic conversation, our country is concerned whether or not cannabis is decriminalized. Sad state. Sad state. To every 1 in 2, to every 10 to 1 Grenadian, how much persons can benefit from cannabis? Or the conversation that we're talking about? To every 1 in 10 Grenadian have a family member that is in the United States that might be looking for job opportunities. And no, you can't as a migrant make an application with the very tough economic state that we're in, and persons might be looking for betterment. No, you can't even apply if you get a low work in the United States to better your life and better your family. Imagine you come from a poor family now, and the opportunities is being given in some country, in some way in the United States, for you to be able to go and do some work and earn a proper living. And you have to stick here for less to next to nothing. Those are the concerns that affect Grenadians every day. Not them little boys that smoking weed on the side of the road, and you want to talk about decriminalizing them. Whether or not they're smoking, they don't smoke it. At the end of the day, they're not employed. The opportunity is not given to them. We need to think at this stage, the just starting of the year. You know, many persons' hopes and dreams might have been shattered. Let's think about persons who might be looking to develop themselves and their family by maybe applying for them, maybe they get a little work for them up there. My little daughter in Grenada, she have been unemployed, just finished school. I could get a little babysitting work for her. Maybe I could file for her, she could file for she to come up. These opportunities have been gone away or placed on hold. That's in the mind of a young lady or a young man. Not decriminalizing marijuana and boasting it and bringing it in Parliament. Watch how quick it was brought to Parliament. Watch the press briefing. We have to beg for an audience when it comes to the requests made by the United States. We have to beg for an audience. A regional source is who let us know that the request was made in the Prime Minister's very own space of broadcasting. We get to know it was since in August. So no, there was no press briefing. There was no information disseminated as to when the request was made. But now, to pull a wool over Grenadian eyes, the criminalization of marijuana is the conversation. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I want to know that Miss Maureen and Issa, as my friends in the fishing industry, are getting a leeway in terms of the fishing ban in the United States? That is what I want to know. I want to know that my friend who's here, who wants to better his life or her life in the United States, can get a lease up and we could have a diplomatic conversation with the United States on easing up for them to be able to travel, to make a life for them and their family. Because nothing is happening here. And nothing happening here. That's the facts. Grenadians watch the Parliament city today to discuss cannabis. Just over the weekend, another Caribbean island having to call an election. And we're concerned about cannabis, and the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs picking mango. This is what we reach to. This is what becomes the eyes of the people. That is what it is. An up moment, a flash, a camera. That is what it has become to. Really, Grenadians? And then we've seen 1,000 likes for the foreign minister trying to shake down a mango for the prime minister to catch. That is what Grenada has come to. Could you imagine this? And we accept that behavior. And when persons like myself and the opposition leaders speak, and other members who support the NNP and other parties, they're castigated. They're belittled. They're cussed off. Think about it, they don't have to get nothing from no source. When something is said about Dr. Mitchell or maybe the political leader, they don't need source. But whenever something comes up on them, where is the source? First thing they want to know, where is the source? Well, say something about Dr. Mitchell. Say something about Honorable Emmeline Pay, Honorable Kate Lewis or Clarice Modeste. Say something about them. See how much of them that ask where the source. See how much of them. See one the other day, which I'm not, I didn't want to go into it, but I had to mention it. Oh, you're fighting the party and the leader, and how people want leader and in the party. Where is it so? Where is the source? But you're mentioning to them, oh, what the US say and what this one say and the advisory that is out, and they're asking you, where are you looking at? What is the source? This is what we have come to. This is what we have been accepting. That governments just showing out a press release after the fact, after we get to know or we hear, and then that is it. Imagine, we just had a briefing. And again, it comes back to knowledge. It comes back to knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we are listening to these people and we're not understanding them. I personally knew for a fact, me, I'm not a nurse, but I knew that the government clearly stated that the process of the $500 would have been through a budgetary cycle. What is a budgetary cycle? 1 year. We don't read budget 2 and 3 years. So you don't expect to have the first year, it was placed through a budgetary cycle. It was renewed again in the other cycle. But it was never mentioned in the last budget sitting. Now, what I'm saying here is this. Even if it was not mentioned or it was not supposed to be renewed or it was going to end, you're telling me that the country should not be aware that you can't just mention, oh, the budgetary cycle, when you were mentioning health and the monies that was spent in health. We know for the past 2 years, government has allocated $500 to nurses and so on. Yes, however, that would not be happening for the next budgetary cycle. You telling me that our nurses and our doctors and our health practitioners are not in a position to be afforded such information? That was oversighted, that was not to be mentioned? Come on. Same thing with the $50. When the Grenadian people start to talk about it, then you put it in a press release. Why are you so, why can't you be proactive? So, the $50, we talk, then we get a release. Right? The nurses' money, we talk, then we get a release. The travel advisory, not the travel advisory, the request for radar, We talk about it, then we get information. Why are we accepting this? So government is not mandated to obligated to give us a response prior to we getting to know in the rum shop. No, this person I hear that, but I don't show. It's only you, persons with force and experience, can say. Only persons with force and experience. From since last year, just around July, August last year, I remember the conversation of teachers and their payments and how the 15 coming, some of them don't get in pay, the mountain, they don't get in pay, and then they get in. I've been hearing that for the past 6 to 8 months. So it means that there is a glitch in the system. Has government addressed it? You're hearing teachers talking here, there, because you know what? And much people like us, and I have to say that. And it's the reason why I applaud the initiative that I have since come up with, because we want to hear people's point of view. We don't want me sit down here and say, Sister Jenny sit down and say, this, that, and the other, right? My apologies there. Yes, so you don't want to sit down, we don't want to sit down here and be judging and saying, well, this is not working and this is not happening. And then they tell you, them NMP and them, because they don't like NDC, they're talking about that. Hence the reason why I'm happy that we took it to that initiative. And we'll be doing much more, and we'll be interacting with much more persons of different walks of life. Because you need to understand what is happening on the ground. The gentleman that I spoke with in the video, he's not politically affiliated. He clearly stated that. He's on a mutual ground. And no way he going left or right or center. But he has said what he said in the interview that says, he said, by that time I leave already. He said, nothing happening. Vendors in the market. You see, God put it in a way that it's like the people I never spoke with was the right set of people. I'm telling you. Walking through the terminus and I meet a gentleman that is fishing. I wasn't at the fish market. Gentleman with the hospital staff. I'm shuttle. You see, at the end of the day, what I want you guys to understand, that this administration is on a quest, I believe, to simply move as they damn well please. As they damn well please. And then at the end of the day, the excuses, the concerns are lame. Which brings me to the Public Utilities Regulation Commission. You know, a lot of these entities are being either fooled, bamboozled, or just outright corrupted. That is how I have to put it. Released on the 15th of January, PURC, which is the Public Utilities Regulation Commission, rates approval process. The Public Utilities Regulation Commission confirmed that all electricity and water rate adjustment must follow established legislative mandates. Public utilities are not authorized to announce or imply rate changes unless a formal submission has been reviewed and approved by the Commission. The PURC is the sole authority empowered to view, set, and approve rates for the electricity, water, and sewage sectors. Accordingly, no rate change is valid without a Commission approval. Please be guided that any declaration or opinions expressed outside of the process lack legal validity. Now, and you know what I believe it's get to? The conversation of what Nawasa said. Ladies and gentlemen, don't worry them with that. When we go to the different utilities company to pay, we know what we see, we know where we stay, we know the use, and we know all these things. That is Papi Show. Again, the intent to pull wool over the eyes of Grenadians. Now, if that is the process, answer me this. When the increase came about from Grenlec, right? Where was the commission? Where was the commission? Yes, it was publicized, but where was the commission in all of this? No, because Nawasa mentioned it. And if Nawasa do send in the suggestion or the adjustments that they are requesting, let me hear the Public Utility Regulation Commission tell them no when they have justifiable grounds to increase. Tell me, these fellas and them, what I'm telling you, is a set-up papi show. It's a set-up papi show. And you see, when you look at them, you can tell that these guys don't care what Grenadians say. They don't give a damn what comes from the mouth of Grenadians. They're in charge. They're in charge. Look at up to this date. Up to date from since the announcement made by the Minister of Foreign Affairs last year. Have you seen any relevant source posted that unemployment is down in Grenada to 7.5? They say it. They don't defend it. They go with it. We accept it. And we have it. That is how it has been running. There was a present situation within the Rio Grande Police Force as it relates to persons and their pay and grade, persons who would have had rank and the pay and grade in terms of cabinet having to approve that those persons have to get their monies. So there are some persons that have gotten pay and grade and they got mega $69, $72, and when inquired, they did mention that there is a problem. So cabinet, they still are waiting cabinet for that level of approval to get that, right? But in order to make it seems as if they're doing something in the police force, they run and share rank. I am happy for my friends who get. The main thing, I want them to get paid. I want the monies reflected on their salaries. Not just running and give them rank and chevron and thing on their shoulder. I want to make sure that what today is, and I maybe have to call a few of them because it's 28th, and in a month I will call them again. Make sure that these things are reflected on your salary. Because there was already issues when it comes to the pay and grade, and persons were not seeing a certain amount of money being reflected. So don't let it reach to a point where they give all you the rank and they give all you pay and grade, and then when you check it, they pay all you a whole $6,000 in a lump sum and they take back $4,000 in income tax. I know this administration. I know them. That is what they did with the pay and grade. They gave police pay and grade, and instead of giving them people and them the retroactive payment, they put it with their salary. So some persons' salaries were reflecting $3,000 and $4,000. It means that once you went over the threshold of the income allocated tax, you have to pay. So a lot of persons, when they saw the $4,000 and $5,000, they're glad, but government take back a whole $1,000, $2,000, $1,500 from that. They asking all you know. So I know this administration very ratchy. So yes, they run and give rank. There is a present situation that is still ongoing in the RGPF as it relates to pay and grade and payment. But they run and give people rank. Make sure all your salary reflect the rank that you hold and the salary you have to get. Let's hope that the persons that get rank didn't just get rank for rank's sake. It's just a chevron, you get a nothing. That when you go and you look at your salary, you and the constable as a sergeant pay the same amount. I know this administration. They like highlight, they like head. Everything historical. Everything historical. They had a passing out parade in His Majesty's prison. A historical passing out parade. They have rank, they give rank. Historic rank. Everything is history. But what I know for history, this is the most historical, non-empathetic, non-sympathetic, and careless government I've ever seen in this country. That is what is historic. Because the lies continues to overwhelm us. Because when it is not reflected through their words, it is being reflected through the actions. See, one question asked that if unemployment is down, why are we going up with the NIS rate? Pertinent question. But a release came out just last evening, and let me drop into that conversation now. And it's an excerpt from the OECS Commission, the Light Commission. But you see, when the international and regional bodies make the assessment, it will be very different from what they are saying. Let me read. The Enhancement Country Poverty Assessment finding released publicly by the OECS Commission yesterday, January 19, says, in Grenada, over 30% of the population is considered multidimensionally poor based on the assessment. 34.3 incidents who is affected, 46.2% intensely, which is depth deprivation, and 0.158, that is the multi-dimension poverty index. You might be wondering, what is multi-dimensional poverty? Let me explain to you. It means experiencing deprivation in multiple aspects of life beyond just our income, So it's not just your salary. It encompasses poor health, lack of education, and low living standard like water, yes, sanitation, cooking fluid, electricity, housing, or assets, revealing a more complete picture of poverty, complexity, and interconnected deprivation. It uses index like MPI, what I just explained to you, or just mentioned to you, multidimensional poverty index, to combine these non-monetary factors, showing how people are poor, not just if they are income poor, helping design better anti-poverty policies. So we understand? So while they beat their chests about things are happening, and while they make the Grenadian people believe things are happening, you hear what we're faced with? You hear what we face? 30% of our country. 30%. And they would not make that a highlight. They would not make that a conversation. And we're not talking about people walking, you know. This is not talking about, oh, people are not walking, so they're poor. And you see, ever so often, when we speak poverty, persons believe, but he walking how he do poor. And understand what we're saying here. Yeah? And that's the reason why before I mentioned the unemployment conversation. Because they make it believe, hey, everybody working. And oh, they bring up, what do you call it? Wages. Yeah? But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, some persons, even if their wages went up, it was simply to fulfill the ongoing debts that they do have. Because some people were working for $1,200, and the debt was to be covered by $1,500. So now that it's up to $1,500, it goes back to zero. It means that all that was happening, that when you were working for $1,200, you were in deficit or less than $300. That is all it meant. So it meant that, okay, you was working for $1,200, but your expenses was $1,500. You were in debt or just between $300 less. Now that you're up to $300 and you can meet your expenses, it means that when you're living hand to mouth, what you make, you spend. Yeah, I ain't got to know big economic. I'm not an economist, but I can tell you that is the basis of life. You're working for $800. Your bill that you have to spend every month is $1,000. It means that every month you're short $200. If I bring you up to $1,000, you can now cover your entire spending, and it leaves you with nothing. It leaves you with nothing. So what you would have to do then after that, you now have to again go into expenditure of an amount. So now that you reach $1,500, you may know how to bring it back up to $1,800. So you go back to the same position that you was in 2-3 years ago. Hence the reason for those opportunities that was given outside of the norm. Yeah? So the layman man, even if he has to go and fish, or he has a little job and he do a little travel in the morning, he can put his pot on the fire that in the month, in the next 2 weeks, 10 days, he's collecting $300, $400, $500, still earning a little $1,000 there. So the $1,000 that would have covered his expenses, he had $500 still to put in his pocket. When poor people have money, everybody eat a food. That is economic knowledge, basic economic knowledge. You go to big school. When the man on the ground is fed, the man on the top does what? You ready? I working hard, my boss, business booming. So when a person's come to my restaurant and he gets in nice food and he gets in nice hospitable and customer satisfaction and he spends and he gives, my boss eating well, but at the same time my boss could pay me substantiable because of the quality that I'm producing. Yeah? But you're not treating the people on the ground good. What you expect? You don't find it will be difficult for you to pay nurses and doctors and others? It will be difficult because the man on the ground, the poor man, ain't getting nothing to food. Yeah, you don't get nothing to food, it's food. You ain't getting nothing. You ain't spending nothing. So you ain't getting nothing up there because you ain't passing nothing down here. But when you get them fellas in the middle here, they buy a pound of flour and a bag of flour and they leave it on the side of the house. They're making weevil. I saw the Prime Minister doesn't make grocery. I certain. But I want us to focus, ladies and gentlemen, on what it encompasses. Very, very briefly, we'll run into them. Health. And see if that though must come up. And you see sometimes when certain things come out and we hear them, we need to break them down into, I wonder if those things are really true, boy. I wonder if this is really happening in Grenada or somebody just want to make Grenada look bad. Let's think about it. Health. How much our persons here can afford health? Yeah? We're thinking about building a hospital, Polaris. But the basic things that the layman man would need every day, a Panadol. A Panadol is close to $5 or $3. A mother whose child might be hungry and she has a headache. What is she going to buy? She rather buy a biscuit and give her child to eat than deal with the headache that she has. Because why? The ability to get these basic products. Better you eat and drink water and may hope that your headache go away. That is the reality in Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martin now. You're getting a prescription from a doctor and you go in and find out the price. Hopefully when you reach in the pharmacist, you have the money in your pocket to pay for it. How much am I saying price prescription and have to leave? Because they really can't afford it. Don't talk about the general hospital. Persons are leaving the general hospital with prescriptions to come into town. This is the state of Grenada. Now you want to pass cannabis law. Smoke, man. Let me think about it. Lack of education. You see, if I hungry, my child hungry, and I really can't afford it, think I sent my child to school? You remember? Recently, government raised the issue as it relates to absentees. How long in Grenada have we really alleviated this problem? When we used to have bad social developed workers, police officers running down school children to make sure they go to school. How long we haven't heard about absentees in Grenada? How much years? When there were the different social programs that could have assisted poor, vulnerable persons to be able to send their child to school, even if it means putting a little sleeper in their foot. Hmm? Like I said recently, you know what's the difference when I look at and I assess NNP's candidates and their representative, how it differs from what I'm seeing now? Let me say to you, and I haven't been around a few. Now, if someone goes to a parliamentary representative now and says, my daughter has a health issue and I am looking for X, Y, or Z, they are sending you to the Ministry of Health. Or they sending you to somebody they could call in the Ministry of Health. I have a problem with child with the school thing. I'll put you on the school books program. Let me tell you something. The difference with persons within the NNP that I've seen, watch me, they pushing their hand in their pocket and they're giving you that money. And I could list a lot of them. You go in the office and you see that what person used to say, oh, is handout. But you see, most of these persons, when you think about them and where they come from, they understand the gripe. They understand the gripe. So if you go to a Dr. Modest and you speak, my daughter or my child have a health issue, she would either offer her service or she would tell you who to go by. And if it means that she had to pay the boss for you, she doing it. Because they understand that empathy is in them. They have the know-how. And fellas that work how much years in their life, had $200 in their account, and now they have 2 million. They understand the gripe. They grow up in that kind of lifestyle of persons' needs. Persons who know what 200 fee and some contracts could have done for a family, instead of giving them a whole heap of run around and go so and come back so and when you could just simply side $200 for them. School opening next week. Miss P, I don't have my child, I don't have no bag. All right, I'll have somebody call you. Bet your bottom dollar you're getting that call. And I hope she doesn't grab me in my throat for that. Oh, a recent walkthrough. Miss Pierre had, I think, was one hamper in her possession. And let me tell you something. Miss Pierre has a mind that when she don't do something good, she feels bad. I'm telling you, I have known this lady from since 2004. Yeah, do the math. It's been decades I've known Miss Pierre. Maybe not everyday interaction, but there wasn't a pass-by, there wasn't an eye contact that was not given, even if we were in the same audience. While she was a minister of government, I'm a police, she salute, I getting me touch on my head, I getting me slap, whatever it is. Yeah? And we did the walkthrough. One person came and she thought about it. She was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to give them something. In the end of our walkthrough, even being in the Grand Dance area, Ms. Pierre just insisted that she had to give somebody that hamper. And believe you me, a testimony in the eyes. I saw Ms. Pierre do until she gave away that hamper. And it was basically on our return, when we ended everything, she found somebody to give the hamper. That is the kind of person. That is the kind of heart that lays in our leader and leadership of this political party. Whatever people could have said, would have said about NNP, my experience in and around here has been immaculate. Now that I've grown more or less hand in hand with some folks here. It is amazing how you would call upon them. I have called for assistance for other persons already, not even within their constituency. Because you know, me doing this program, person go, hey, am I looking for that? Prince, you know anybody? And I have reached out to persons already, and both home and abroad, that have assisted persons by just a phone call. Some others said to me they can't, but they messaging me back and say, you did get through. Our leadership, our MPs, our caretakers, these persons understanding know-how, who just come. I had the opportunity to we shared stories from not Nolan Thompson, you know, her mother who shared stories with me on a very short stint of ride. And the I mean, it's just amazing. It is amazing how these persons have dedicated their time to people and now they're offering it up. And persons still have the worst to say about them. Persons who could be anywhere in this world. Anywhere. For those of us who don't know, Nolan Thompson did media and broadcasting when she was not in Grenada. She come to Grenada now. What she doing? She cutting grass for people in the yard. Because she have to be doing that. Over the weekend. Again, you see, you can hear this. I don't know if you're noticing it, you know. This is not make-up stories I'm coming up with, you know. This is not make-up stories, you know. This is things I've seen sincerely. Over the weekend, I was in Victoria, had a conversation with Dr. Modest. She was really not in best of health. She would have had some issues with her shoulder and so on, right? And Sunday morning, we conversed, had a conversation. Are you okay? She said, okay. There was an elderly luncheon that is annual yearly luncheon. She's been doing it for over 20 years. Every year, you can depend on that luncheon. And while other persons, when I got to the venue, persons bringing in things, so on and so forth, Dr. Modis arrived. And you can see her hand was being held in a particular way, and there might have been little, twitching of the pain. Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this song, We Can't Sit Down, is Dr. Modest. With all the persons who came there, Dr. Modest interacted, she danced, she planted flowers. When I plant flowers, she made a little vase for the different tables. And then she still went into the kitchen, sharing, bringing out food for elders. No, ladies and gentlemen, they're not fake. It wasn't for photo ops. Because to be honest with you, me in my capacity, I saw it and I just decided I was going to take some pictures and so on. So there was no big photographer there. Somebody planned to take out picture. Persons there, and we use whoever phone and we. So it wasn't something was used for a photo op. It wasn't a photo op moment. But I'm saying this to say, the genuine love for people. I tell people, if you're going to speak on infrastructural development in St. Mark's, there is minimal to be developed in St. Mark's in terms of infrastructure and so on. Our road network are 95% in St. Mark's. Our road and road conditions go to St. Mark's. The most recent issues we had with road, now I said dig up Diamond Street and they had to fix it back. But if you go through roads in Victoria, St. Mark's, traverse the entire St. Mark's road and look at the road condition and road network and tell me if after 20 odd years, this woman did not do her work. I am talking not just by roads, I'm talking farm roads. But notwithstanding that, ask among Victoria and Victorians and St. Markians, how many persons did she personally push she hand in she pocket and give? Ask them. Ask other members who sat as a minister and when they had cabinet meetings, how much they were sharing. If 30 was giving out, she won 5 in St. Mark's. Making sure 5, 6, 7 went to St. Mark's. And I'm telling you all because I'm working in integration with Dr. Modest. Because I'm saying to you, this is a legend that will not That is a service that would never be belittled by no political party and no person through the length and breadth of Grenada. You can't say nothing bad about Clarice. I go deal with you for Clarice. I'm telling you. Because some of you all continue to belittle it after she helped. Even some of them get help. Some of them that playing big yellow now, they get help too. Even if they don't get help, their children get help. Their friend get help. They're asking their friend and they're telling your friend, I don't have, go by Dr. Moles. And I could speak about who I know. If you know that your MP or your caretaker is as good as that, then you can testify. I can only testify to what I know. And I ain't afraid to testify it. So we ain't afraid to say what we know. So what we see now must shock us. It must shock us, ladies and gentlemen. And I know I've diverted from a long way. Because at the end of the day, this is not, I'm not scripted. I ain't seen nothing to read. I ain't playing clip. I'm telling you things from my heart that I know. Going back into the conversation, and low living lifestyles, living standard, like water. Yes? Sanitation, cooking fluid. Let me tell you something. Sending you in places now, I need our people to buy with $40 to buy gas. I'm talking about people who walk in. If the gas finish today, they have money. What's this talking about? Oh, but persons not saving and persons not saving. Watch me. Let me tell you something. I've reflected on my own life. Let me tell you something. You're talking about spending? I am a spendthrift. Let me tell you, there is a police. Man, watch me. Salary, no children. Even when you are children, you drop a money there, you drop some pampers and you drop something there, and you think and you go into a little, you're mad. My children, 2-3 years, they had the independence clothes. They're going out for Easter. Sports. They're playing pretty mass. I telling you whole year. All the money and I just making sure they're all right. But no. In your mind's eyes, you have to be careful. You have to wait. You have to hold on. You can't just. You're afraid. Everything got up. As I said recently, water bill is about to go up. Electricity bill, up. NIS bills, up. Ladies and gentlemen, as I put on my most astute voice, I hope I can proclaim through the length and breadth of Grenada to tell NDC that their time is up. Yeah? If everything else is going up, your time of governance is up. Go your way. Go. Do not stay here. Your time is up. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this evening, another class in session program really did enlighten you, gave you information, pertinent information. Yeah? Not barbarous conversation for conflict. Yeah? Pertinent information that goes into our social and political lives that must be viewed as concerning. Can't discipline them pulling cannabis conversation over we I know and all kind of advisory, all kind of ban, all kind of on hold, everything, freeze of this and come on. Imagine immigration visa getting freeze. Fishermen, fish can freeze. Let's talk about the good freeze. Yeah? Let we freeze the fishermen fish to be exported. Yeah? if you want to decriminalize and legalize and all these things, and then let's get to the concept of legislation that will be put in place to ensure that every Grenadian benefits. Yeah? Make it legal on a piece of paper that workers that are working outside of their places can get a bus to go home. Yeah? And all these other things. Concern about that. Transportation and all these things. Road condition. About weed. No. We could have weed conversation in another time. Wherever, ladies and gentlemen, it was definitely a pleasure to be in your company for another wonderful evening. I hope that you again would join me tomorrow, God's willing. I'm being faced with a little, how should I put it? You see, me and always friend, I always miss students. I could share something with you guys. Yes, I having just had baby. You know, it's now into 4 months, and baby mama is back out to work, and so we have not yet allocated a daycare for baby. So ever so often now, when I finish my daily job at 1, sometimes I have to rush here, pre-record for you guys, and get home because she works at 3. Even today I had to get somebody to look at baby. So there is a little thing, but I am committed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm committed to give you relevant information and conversation. Yes, next week I would be attempting to have him registered into a little daycare. I could, as I said, always my friends, I could tell all of that. Ain't no castigation in that. This is me being a responsible dad. Because at the end of the day, you know, we don't want to have it where we would leave him home with the other siblings, because they can be a little crazy themselves. So tomorrow I would make all efforts to be here again. I hope the person can watch him again today for me until I get home. Yeah. So that have been the little hiccups with me, and I want you guys to get used to on the road, on the, what do you call this one? I'll give me some names for this one, you know. Yeah. We have to get a name for it. The field trip. Yeah. Outside the cast. Games day. I'll give me some nice names for it. Come up with a nice name and tell me how we go call the new initiative that I came up with. And I must thank so many persons, yeah, for, you know, I came up with the idea, and many persons were like, you know, you started outside there, ping-a-ling, you were just popping up, and, you know, so we want to give you that vibes again, yeah? And as the time comes closer, we're going to make it a little bit more, you know what I mean? All right, so I really had to share that with you guys today. I did make my mind up. I'm going to tell you guys what it is, but hopefully I'm here tomorrow. If I'm not, then I will let you guys know. God's blessings to each and every one of you. And I'm going to catch you back here again. Once it is to happen, it will happen. God's blessings to you, and we shall see. If persons have information, I live in Montu. So I'm going to look at a place in the Limes, daycare in the Limes. If anybody know of any other place or person who might normally do those things, you know, at a reasonable price, yeah, then I would accept. All right? Do have yourself a blessed one.
Dominica, it's me again. I'm back. This one is for all the politicians to take